Drunk out of my mind, I pulled my absolute worst enemy into a bone-crushing hug. Without missing a beat, she pulled out her family's priceless heirloom ring and slid it right onto my index finger. Now, you're all mine. The entire venue instantly suffocated in a dead, heavy silence. Eldest Miss Chi gently caught my shaking hand. You put it on the wrong finger, hubby. The crowd of elite guests absolutely lost their minds in shock. Why all the gasps? Because everyone and their mother knew Chi Ching-gru and I were bitter, blood-feud rivals. I hated that woman with every single fibre of my being, but what nobody in that room knew was that I had just been reborn. In my previous life, a catastrophic fire had completely destroyed my face and ruined my vocal cords. Everyone else looked at me with pure disgust and threw me away like trash. Yet she was the only one who held my broken body, whispering over and over, "Achen, please don't be afraid. I am right here." That was the exact moment it hit me. The person I had spent my entire life hating was actually the only person in this godforsaken world who truly loved me. In those final, agonizing seconds before my death, she held me so tight it hurt, her freezing lips pressed against my ear as she hoarsely begged, "Achen, please. Just love me." Ah, I screamed, my heart completely shattering into a million pieces. I love you, but it was too late. She could no longer hear my voice. As fate would have it, the exact moment I opened my eyes in this new life, I was standing smack in the middle of a glitzy red carpet at a major award ceremony. And there she was. The woman with that untouchable, peerless beauty and regal aura, leaning casually against a luxury car. In a single heartbeat, everything else blurred away, and she became the only thing left in my entire universe. I completely ignored the cameras and sprinted across that red carpet like a madman, desperate to finally give her the words she never got to hear. I was going to say it all over again. I love you. The whole venue dropped into a state of absolute paralyzing shock, and the millions watching the live stream were right there with them. Because every single person recognized the woman I was practically strangling in a hug. It was Chi Ching-gru, the untouchable eldest daughter of the almighty Chi family in Jingdu. She was absolute royalty, so dangerously beautiful and completely out of reach. A woman who made men willingly drown in her depths, even when they knew it was a total death trap. In a split second, the chaotic, deafening venue went pin drop quiet. The only sound left was the rapid-fire clicking of 100 camera flashes going off. But while the real world was frozen in silence, the live stream chat was an absolute war zone. What the hell is Shi-Chen doing? Did he seriously just kiss our boss, Chi? Has this guy completely lost his mind trying to get famous? First, he assaulted Shiyibai backstage before the stream even started. And now he's forcing a kiss on eldest Miss Chi. Has he been reading way too many trashy romance novels? Does he actually think this crazy stunt will make him go viral? This untouchable heiress of the Chi family was legendary for treating men like literal dirt. She wouldn't even give a superstar like Shiyibai the time of day. Who the hell does he think he is? This guy has a massive death wish. I heard he and the eldest miss have been at each other's throats since they were kids in diapers. Heh, grab your popcorn, guys. We've got a killer show to watch now. Actually, screw that. How dare he kiss my future wife? Why doesn't he just go jump off a bridge? Oh, don't you worry. The eldest miss is going to tear him apart. She won't let him off the hook, and neither will the internet. Standing off to the side, even my best friend and manager, Song Yi, looked like his eyeballs were about to pop straight out of his skull. He was one of the few people who actually knew the real deal between me and Chi Ching-gru. Sure, you could technically call us childhood friends, but absolutely nothing about it was friendly. We were straight up enemies. In fact, our relationship was so insanely toxic that if Chi Ching-gru so much as breathed the same air as me, I would dramatically demand an air freshener to disinfect the entire room. And why? Because ever since I was a dumb kid, I was hopelessly simping for Himomo. And Himomo absolutely despised the universally worshipped Chi Ching-gru. So, running on blind, idiotic loyalty, I decided to hate Chi Ching-gru right along with her. Right now, Song-yi was standing there having the exact same thought as every single person in that live chat. Shi-Chen has officially gone psychotic for a crumb of clout. Just a few feet away, Shiyibai was still clutching his bruised face. His eyes were wide with shock, but a twisted, mocking smirk was already creeping onto his lips. Shi-chen actually has the guts to provoke Chi Ching-ru in public? Is he seriously not afraid that crazy woman is going to bury him alive? Even Chi Ching-ru's elite bodyguards were exchanging completely bewildered looks. Truth be told, when I first came sprinting over like a maniac, they had moved in to tackle me. But their lady had frozen them in their tracks with a single icy glare. Did the exiled eldest young master of the Shi family switch up his battle plan? Is this some twisted new scheme to completely ruin Our Lady's reputation? Wait. Did young Master Shi hide a lethal capsule in his mouth to poison Our Lady through a kiss? But honestly, the bodyguard's panic theories were nothing compared to the absolute storm inside Chi Ching-ru's own head. When HN came charging at me like that, I was absolutely certain he was going to pull some stunt to humiliate me in front of the press. I honestly just stood there, waiting to see what pathetic trick this exiled young master was going to pull out of his hat next. But before Chi Ching-ru could even open her mouth to spit out a sarcastic insult, she watched my eyes flutter shut as I locked my lips perfectly against hers. In that explosive second, her brain totally short-circuited, leaving nothing but loud static. Completely frozen, her first frantic thought was, wait. Was HN trying to bite my jugular, but his aim was off and he bit my lips instead? Should I politely tell him that he aimed for the wrong spot? But then, against her lips, I breathed out, Ching-ru, I love you. My voice was so fragile and broken, sounding like a gentle breeze could just scatter it into dust. In that second, Chi Ching-ru's heart violently clenched in her chest. She brought her hands up, pressing her trembling fingers against my shoulders as if to shove me away. The live chat absolutely erupted. Here it comes! Brace yourselves for the epic face slapping! But as she pushed back, Chi Ching-ru looked up and actually saw my face. It was entirely wrecked with the desperate, raw emotion of a man who had just clawed back his only reason to live. Her chest tightened so hard she could barely breathe. And then, while the entire world held its breath waiting for a bone-shattering slap to send me flying, Chi Ching-ru reached up and incredibly gently stroked my cheek. What's wrong, HN? Talk to me. What happened? The chat completely lost its mind. What the actual hell is going on? Wait, hold up. Shouldn't this cold-blooded ice queen be winding up a brutal backhand right now? Why isn't she sending this creep into orbit? The entire crowd stood there, exchanging hilariously dumbfounded stares. Camera flashes exploded non-stop. The live chat was an absolute blur, scrolling at warp speed. Viewers flooded in so fast the stream literally crashed and went black. Fix the platform. Hurry up. If I don't get to see Miss Chi slap him across the face, I swear I won't sleep tonight. But right then, the screaming crowd and the flashing lights just faded away. In my eyes, there was only her. My entire world. My voice came out as a broken, desperate rasp. I missed you. My hands were still locked tightly around her waist, gripping her as if I was terrified she'd vanish into thin air. Ching-ru, I missed you so damn much. Chi Ching-ru just stared, thinking to herself, Chen is actually calling me Ching-ru. Did he hit his head and mistake me for someone else? She stayed dead silent for a second, then suddenly snapped her gaze around the room. The gossiping onlookers practically got whiplash turning away. Some stared way up at the sky, while others suddenly found the ground absolutely fascinating. Yeah, Chi Ching-ru knew this definitely wasn't the place for a heart-to-heart. Frowning, she grabbed my arm, trying to pry my hands off her waist. But that just made me panic. I yanked her even closer, holding on for dear life. No, don't go. Please don't leave me. I'll be good from now on, I swear. I promise! Her beautiful, delicate face just showed total helplessness. I'm not leaving you. Come on, just get in the car. I don't believe you. I stubbornly clung to her like a lifeline. If I let go, I'm terrified you'll just disappear. This all felt way too much like a dream. A dream so damn beautiful I didn't dare wake up. Then what's it gonna take for you to let me go? Kiss me, I begged. Chi Ching-ru, kiss me, please. Just let me know you're real. I had literally just kissed her a moment ago, but she shoved me away before I could even process it. I wanted to kiss her again so badly, I desperately needed to feel the warmth of her lips. I couldn't bear the thought of it being like the past, when she whispered against my ear, begging me to love her with a body that felt terrifyingly cold. Chi Ching-ru pursed her perfect red lips. Ah, Chen's mouth has only ever known how to piss me off. I have no clue what provoked him today, but suddenly, he's playing sweet. Is this guy seriously trying to seduce me? He's probably trying to get it all on camera for the whole internet to see, just so he can mercilessly roast me later for falling for his little honey trap. Her lips curled up into a faint smirk. Too bad for him. If there's one thing I, Chi Ching-ru, have never been afraid of, it's a sweet little honey trap. Chuckling to herself, her slender fingers gently grazed my cheek. Then, she looked up and pulled me into a real, deep embrace. Right as she tilted her head up, the live stream platform magically flickered back to life, captured live at the end of the red carpet, the gorgeous heiress and the handsome rogue. It was straight out of a fairy tale, picture perfect like a prince and princess in a tight embrace. But before the hyped-up internet trolls could even get a clear look, they were already spamming the chat like crazy. I'm losing my mind! Best day ever! Oh my god, what just happened? Did she just slap him with her lips? The trending searches absolutely blew up. Half the internet was convinced I was blackmailing the eldest Miss Chi. Others swore I must have seduced her, while a whole different crowd genuinely believed I used some kind of dark voodoo magic to brainwash her. Long story short, not a single soul actually believed Chi Ching-ru wanted to kiss me of her own free will. To the entire online world, she and I were parallel lines that were never supposed to cross. She was a goddess up in heaven, and I was just trashed down in the dirt. One hater even dropped a brutal comment. Just you wait. The second Miss Chi snaps out of it, Chi-chan is going to die a miserable, painful death. If he doesn't, I will literally do a 360-degree handstand and eat shit. But while the entire internet was turning upside down, I was chilling in the massive backseat of a silver phantom, staring eagerly at the woman right next to me. Chi Ching-ru just sat there lazily, casually scrolling on her phone with her long, slender fingers. Annoyed out of her mind, she hung up on yet another nosy caller and finally just powered the damn thing off. Only then did she turn those piercing eyes on me. When she finally spoke, her tone was totally relaxed, but ice cold. Talk. Do you have amnesia? Or did you just hit your head and mistake me for someone else? I definitely didn't get the wrong person! I shook my head frantically, my arms instinctively reaching out to hold her again. Her long eyelashes fluttered. No hugging. I immediately snapped back and sat up perfectly straight like a well-trained puppy. I finally get this guy to let go, and now he's trying to grab me again, she thought. There's not even an audience watching us anymore. A flash of pure annoyance crossed her gorgeous face. What the hell is with this new habit of grabbing me every time he opens his mouth? Was he always this clingy with Momo? My reaching hand froze in midair. My fingers, which were inches from her dress, slowly pulled back. I just stared at her with the most pitiful puppy dog eyes. She stared right back at my pathetic expression, looking at me like I was an abandoned stray. Okay, something is seriously wrong. My worst enemy is acting way too damn weird. Pursing her lips, she forced down the suspicion in her eyes and asked, So, you didn't get the wrong girl? Then tell me, do you even know who I am? I looked right at her, my voice dead certain. You are Chi Ching-ru. And then I softened my voice to a whisper. You are my Ching-ru. Her heart literally skipped a beat in her chest. Out of nowhere, she slapped the back of her cold hand right against my forehead, narrowing her eyes. Did a fever completely fry your brain? Her small hand felt a little cold against my skin, instantly dragging me back to that terrifying icy chill of her embrace in her final moments. I tightened my fists, my voice barely a whisper. I don't have a fever. Chi Ching-ru just snatched her hand back, crossing her arms as she glared down at me like I was something scraped off her shoe. Right! Spit it out, she sneered. What idiotic scheme did you cook up to mess with me this time? Suddenly, a dark realization flashed across her eyes. If my memory serves me right, your precious Shi family is throwing a massive banquet tomorrow. Rumor has it that psycho ex of yours, Momo, already bought a ring. She's probably gearing up to propose to Shi Yabai, cementing the unbreakable alliance between the he and she families. The bitter truth, I was thrown out of the Shi family like trash just 1 month ago. Why? Because Shi Yabai got kidnapped and nearly killed. And every single shred of forged evidence pointed straight at me. My own parents looked at me with absolute disgust, publicly disowning me without a second thought. And my engagement to Momo tossed out the window, right along with my reputation. Chi Ching-ru dropped her mocking smile, her gaze growing colder and 1,000 miles more distant. Shi Chen, tell me you're not desperate enough to use me just to make Momo jealous, she continued. Before I even stepped out of my car earlier, I saw you punch Shi Yibai in the jaw. Her voice tightened. My heart dropped. I knew you always had a nasty temper, Chen, but you had never pulled a stunt that reckless in broad daylight before. I honestly thought you had completely lost your mind over Momo, she said bitterly. So I rushed out of the car to back you up. Little did I know, I was just serving myself up on a silver platter for you to publicly humiliate me. Remembering the 2 soft kisses I had just stolen from her, Chi Ching-ru's eyes turned into absolute ice. Wow, Shi-chen, you really pulled out all the stops for Momo, didn't you? It makes me sick. I could practically hear her thinking, should I just kick this moron out onto the pavement right now? Feigning total innocence, I blinked at her. Who is Momo? I have absolutely no idea who that is. Chi Ching-ru went dead silent for 2 agonizing seconds. Then, she reached out and tapped Wen Jing, our driver, right on the shoulder. Take us to the 10th hospital. The psychiatric ward. Wen Jing paused for a split second, hiding her shock. Understood, third miss. Without missing a beat, she cranked the steering wheel and floored it straight toward the 10th hospital. I furrowed my brow, panic bubbling in my chest. Crap. Chi Ching-ru actually thought I had lost my damn mind. I was already fully awake from the dizzying shock of my rebirth. I knew in my bones that I had traveled back in time. But honestly, if playing the amnesia card got her to trust me, I was all in. I didn't give a flying damn about my traitorous family or that psycho ex anymore. The only person who mattered in this entire universe was my Ching-ru. In this second life, she was the only one I needed to remember. The only one I needed to furiously love. Chi Ching-ru leaned in, her voice a deadly whisper near my ear. I am giving you one last chance. Spill the truth about what you are scheming. Because once they lock you inside the 10th hospital, don't even dream of ever seeing daylight again. The streetlights cast shadows inside the car, illuminating her flawlessly elegant yet painfully cold features. In my past life, right before the fire consumed me, I used to think her stare was just as freezing like the bottomless depths of an eternally frozen lake. It wasn't until the very end that I realized the truth. Underneath all the ice was roaring, boiling magma. Her love for me was so fierce and desperate, it could have melted glaciers. My voice was steady, wrapping around her with absolute devotion. I'm not scheming anything. I just want to love you. Chi Ching-ru's carefully constructed mask instantly shattered into a million pieces. Want to love me? Just how exactly do you plan to love me? She sneered, her red lips curving into a bitter smirk. Shi-chen, do I look like an absolute fool to you? Do I need to refresh your memory about the garbage you spewed when we crossed paths in the clubhouse lobby just this morning? My brain flatlined. Wait, why is there a sudden flashback sequence right now? That morning felt like an entire lifetime ago. I racked my brain, digging through my past life's memories until it finally clicked. Oh God. I really did run into her in the lobby. She was stepping out of the VIP elevator and I was stepping right in. As our shoulders brushed, I had loudly complained to my buddy Song Yi. Man, we need some heavy-duty air freshener in here. This elevator reeks. And as if that wasn't brutal enough, I practically scoffed right in her face, muttering, talk about a terrible start to my day. Remembering my own supreme idiocy, I practically cringed out of my skin. Chi Ching-ru let out a harsh, dry laugh. Look at that guilty expression. Seems like your little amnesia act just cracked. Instantly, I wiped my face blank, staring at her with wide, innocent puppy dog eyes. No, I swear I have no idea. What did I even say to you? Did I tell you how breathtakingly gorgeous you look? Did I tell you I'm crazy about you? That I'm hopelessly in love with you? Chi Ching-ru's fingers literally twitched with the urge to strangle me. She reached out and viciously pinched my ear, twisting it hard. Shi-Chen, cut the crap! I am not buying your pathetic little act. Did that manipulative psycho Himomo ever fall for a trick like this? She snapped. I rubbed my throbbing ear, flashing her a wicked, teasing grin. Well then, what kind of trick does my Chingru fall for? Chi Chingru scoffed, her breath hitting my face. I don't fall for any of your garbage. Before the words even left her mouth, I leaned in boldly, my lips hovering mere inches from hers. Startled, she finally snapped back to reality and shoved me hard against the seat. Her porcelain face burned beet red as she furiously gritted her teeth. I just stared at her with raw affection, a playful, roguish spark dancing in my eyes. Wow, even that didn't break her walls. Taking full advantage of the chaos, I smoothly slid my arm around her slender waist. Fine, I whispered, my eyes burning with desperate hope, then I'll just let you kiss me back instead. Sound like a deal? Up front, Wenjing's ears practically shot straight up. She was definitely screaming internally. Oh my god, yes, it's a deal. Third miss, just grab him and kiss him. Your romantic spring has finally sprung. Chi Ching-ru froze. Her gaze betrayed her, dropping uncontrollably to stare right at my lips. She bit her red bottom lip, the words echoing in her mind. Let me kiss him back. The word okay was dancing on the tip of her tongue, but when she finally opened her mouth, 3 bitter words squeezed through her gritted teeth. In your dreams. The hopeful starlight in my eyes instantly shattered. I let my head droop, playing up the heartbroken puppy dog act. Chi Chingru fought to suppress her frantic heartbeat. I can't let him fool me again. Does he really think he can just seduce me like this? She quietly took a step back. Stay away from me. Her voice carried a faint trace of jealousy she didn't even notice herself. Who taught you how to act like this? Himomo? Chingru, let me finish. I already told you I don't know any Himomo. Why do you keep bringing her up? Who even is she? Besides, everything I know you taught me. Plus, it's not like Himomo even likes me anyway. Chi Chingru's patience was hanging by an absolute thread. She glared at me in sheer displeasure. Chi Chen, how long are you going to keep up this little act? My mood instantly sank. I'm telling the truth. I only love you. I only want to love you. Why won't you just believe me? Seriously, why was Chi Chingru so incredibly stubborn right now? I honestly thought that as long as I confessed, she'd accept my feelings. Could it be she just hasn't fallen in love with me yet in this timeline? Her beautiful, intense eyes stared me down for a few tense seconds. You don't know Himomo? I nodded immediately. Nope. Chi Chingru curled her lips, a hint of playful resentment in her voice. You only love me. Only want to love me. I nodded again, practically snapping my neck. Suddenly, an idea sparked in her mind, and she let out a wicked little laugh. Fine. It's not that I can't believe you, but you're going to have to prove it to me. And how do I prove it? I blinked my charming eyes and chuckled softly. Does my Chingru feel that just getting close isn't enough? Do you want to spend a little more alone time with me? Up front, Wenjing almost lost control of the steering wheel. This young master of the Shi family is seriously something else. Can our innocent third miss even handle a flirt like this? Sure enough, Chi Chingru's small face flushed redder than my own earlobes. Fortunately, she barely managed to maintain her outward composure, calling my name through gritted teeth. Chi! Chen! I just stared back at her with wide, innocent eyes. Suppressing the absolute urge to throw me out of the moving car, Chi Chingru lightly poked my forehead with her fingertip. Take all those filthy thoughts in your head and shut them down. Right now. Only then did I reluctantly close my mouth. Chi Chingru took a deep breath to calm her racing heart, then ordered Wenjing to head back to Shichen. Shichen Hotel was a massive property owned by the Shi family, and it was also hosting today's big awards ceremony. After the awards wrapped up, there was going to be a huge celebration banquet. The only reason Chi Chingru even agreed to attend the gala today was because the Shi family organized it. Well, that. And the most important reason was that she knew I'd be there. Me? I originally went to this stupid gala because I was worried Akin would get bullied. Sure enough, no good deed goes unpunished. This shameless bastard doesn't deserve my kindness at all. Chi Chingru ground her teeth, glaring daggers at me. Wenjing respectfully whipped the car round. I blinked in confusion. Wait, why are we going back? Chi Chingru leaned back against the plush leather seat, returning to that lazy, untouchable posture she had when she first got in. But her tone carried a sharp hint of mockery, to give you a chance to put on a good show, of course. To prove just how genuine this love you speak of really is. I frowned slightly at her words. Memories flooded back. In my past life, it was exactly at this Shichen Hotel celebration banquet that I was completely set up. When I woke up back then, I was lying right beside Chi Chingru in a hotel room full of absolute chaos. I had been completely devastated. My first stupid reaction was to kick Chingru out. She was actually shockingly calm at the time, even offering to marry me to fix it. But I just coldly told her to get lost, and if my memory serves me right, that drugged glass of wine was handed to me personally by Momo. Under the dim streetlights passing by, I looked over at Chi Chingru. She had her eyes closed, stubbornly pretending to be asleep. Her delicate little face looked exceptionally charming. In the past, totally brainwashed by Momo, I always thought Chi Chingru was fake and impossible to approach. Only much later did I finally understand it wasn't that I didn't want to get close to her, I was just terrified of getting too close. By the time we pulled back up to the venue, the award ceremony was still dragging on. Anyone who couldn't be bothered to sit through the boring awards was already hanging out in the banquet hall. The room was packed with wealthy young masters and socialites just looking for a good time. It was just that the atmosphere in the room right now felt totally off. Everyone was intentionally or unintentionally throwing sideways glances toward Momo. After all, the ultimate simp who had chased her since childhood had just run off with her sworn enemy. And to make it worse, it was Chi Chingru, the one girl who utterly outshone her in every single way. So, the rich kids didn't dare fool around too loudly, terrified of pissing off the already explosive Momo. And oh, she was pissed all right. She leaned back in a single luxury sofa, aggressively scrolling through her phone in pure annoyance. Right there on her screen was the trending video of me kissing Chi Chingru. She had replayed it over and over, and the more she watched it, the more she wanted to brutally murder me. Tossing her expensive phone aside, she snapped coldly at the person next to her. Get someone to take down these trending searches right now. Sitting right next to her, scrolling through the exact same trending topics, was her best friend, Su Tian. Hearing Momo say that, Su Tian looked up, totally caught off guard. Take the post down? Why? Su Tian asked. Don't tell me you actually feel bad seeing everyone trash Xie Chen online? Momo shot her a sharp, icy glare. What good does it do me to see him get dragged? Su Tian clicked her tongue. It might not do you any good, but it definitely benefits Si Bai. The worse Xie Chen's reputation gets right now, the more Shebi looks like an absolute saint in comparison. Since you're so into Xie Bai, why do you even care what happens to Xie Chen? Hearing that, Momo's face darkened with sheer annoyance. Are you out of your mind? Su Tian froze for a second. When did I ever say I liked Xiebi? Su Tian was completely baffled. Momo, what are you talking about? Huh? Don't tell me the guy you actually like is Xie Chen? Momo didn't say a single word, but her dead silence was the biggest red flag of all. Su Tian quickly dropped her voice to a frantic whisper. Momo, you've been glued to Shebi's side for years, and I haven't seen you give Xie Chen the time of day. Ask anyone in our circle, literally, who doesn't think you're head over heels for Shebi? Everyone already treats Shebi like he is your boyfriend, okay? And now you're suddenly claiming you like Xie Chen. She just couldn't hold back her frustration. What kind of crazy pills are you taking? Momo just shot her a condescending side-eye. What do you know? She muttered, frowning deeply. It is simply because Xie Chen's temper is way out of line. I only did all of this to force Xie Chen to realize that just because he is the eldest young master of the Xie family, it doesn't give him the right to throw his little tantrums in front of me. Momo took a slow, elegant sip of her red wine. He needs to learn his place and figure out how to properly please me. Besides, now that the Xie family has completely kicked him out, he is going to have absolutely no choice but to come crawling back to me. When that happens, do you really think he will dare to raise his voice at me again? So, I am just teaching the dog a little lesson. Su Tian sat there, utterly dumbfounded. So, you leading Zhebi on for all these years while treating Xie Chen like trash was all just to teach him a lesson? Just to break him and make him obedient? What kind of absolute peerless scumbag logic is that? She was so incredibly shocked she nearly rolled her eyes right into the back of her head. Then, aren't you literally forcing Shabi into an engagement tomorrow? Momo replied, completely unbothered, my husband will only ever be Shay Chen. Su Tian was left entirely speechless. After a very long, awkward pause, she finally reminded Momo, hey, but it really doesn't look like he is coming back to you anytime soon. He went straight to Chi Ching-gru. Momo casually swirled the wine glass in her hand. Don't play so hard to get that you lose the bait and the fish, and end up training a perfect husband for another woman. That just means I haven't disciplined him hard enough yet. He is clearly still not obedient enough. He probably heard that I am proposing to Shay Bai tomorrow, which is exactly why he lashed out, punched Shay Bai, and ran off to Chi Ching-gru. He actually thinks throwing a fit like this will make me change my mind. She let out a cold sneer, thinking Shay Chen was hopelessly naive. Chi Ching-gru knows full well he is my ultimate simp. Would a woman like her ever give him the time of day? He is literally just begging to be humiliated. Momo took another sip of her wine and added casually, oh, don't worry about it. It won't be long before he comes crawling right back, begging on his hands and knees for my forgiveness. But barely a few seconds after her arrogant claim, the massive heavy doors of the banquet hall were slowly pushed open. The entire crowd turned to look, and instantly every single expression in the room froze. A stunning woman with an absolutely overwhelming, boss-level aura strolled in without a care in the world. And then, the crowd gasped as they saw me walking right in beside her. Momo abruptly sat up bone straight, staring daggers at me. Chi Ching-gru flashed a knowing, triumphant smile right at Momo and then deliberately laced her fingers tightly through mine. The two of us walked over and settled down on a plush, empty sofa. I really didn't know if Chi Ching-gru was doing this on purpose or not, but we ended up sitting directly across from Momo and her little clique, separated by a tense distance of about 10 meters. The entire banquet hall fell dead silent for a heavy moment. Then, Momo snapped in an entitled, demanding tone, ah, Chen, get over here right now. Chi Ching-gru just smiled sweetly, leaning back lazily against the soft leather of the sofa. She looked at me and asked gently, well, do you want to go over to her? As she spoke, her thumb softly caressed my hand. I simply shook my head and replied in a perfectly confused tone, I don't know who she is. I'm not going anywhere. The whole room instantly understood the heavy slap in the face that meant especially Momo. Her face flushed, cheeks puffing out in pure rage. Shay Chen, I am giving you one last chance. Get your ass over here right this second. Chi Ching-gru's eyes suddenly flashed with a cunning, playful light. She pouted her lips slightly and leaned in dangerously close to my ear. Shay Chen, didn't you say you wanted to prove how much you love me? Her warm breath tickled my neck, making my heart start pounding like a wild drum. She let out a soft, teasing hum. So, do you dare to kiss me right now, right in front of Momo? As soon as the words left her mouth, she saw a fiery spark light up in my eyes. For a split second, Chi Ching-gru actually felt a wave of panic that she had pushed too far. But sure enough, in the very next heartbeat, I leaned in and kissed her, without a single ounce of hesitation. Sharp gasps immediately echoed from every corner of the room. The banquet hall grew so quiet you could hear a pin drop. How could he dare do that? Just how many times was he going to slap Momo's pride today? Even if he was desperately trying to provoke Momo, wasn't he terrified of taking things way too far and completely unleashing her wrath? Suddenly, a woman's cold, mocking laughter drifted into my ears. The sound made Chi Ching-gru snap right back to reality, pulling away slightly. Just what exactly is Miss He trying to pull? Chi Ching-gru asked, glancing over sharply from the corner of her eye. Momo had already shot up from her seat, clearly getting ready to storm right over and cause a scene, but another woman firmly blocked her path. The one who stepped in to stop Momo was none other than Chi Ching-gru's fierce friend, Song Wan. When Chi Ching-gru had first walked into the hall, her friends had originally wanted to rush over to greet her, but after seeing me trailing right behind, they decided to just sit back and watch first. I'd already seen all the trending searches blowing up online, and honestly, it killed me that I couldn't watch this juicy drama unfold in person. Little did I know, I was about to get a front row seat to the live action right here. Ha! Song Wan was totally caught off guard, but she kept a hawk's eye on He Momo. Sure enough, Wan Wan stepped right in front of Momo without a second thought, like, are you seriously trying to ruin my girl Chingru's big moment? There was absolutely no way I was going to let a crazy woman like Momo ruin everything. Not happening. The corners of Momo's lips twisted into a nasty smirk. Get out of my way. Wan Wan just scoffed, completely unbothered. Oh, you tell me to move and I just move? Do you think I don't care about my own pride? Momo snapped, her voice trembling with rage. I'll say it one more time. Get out of my way. Wan Wan just shrugged, flashing a wickedly smug smile. I won't. What exactly are you going to do about it? Momo's face darkened, and she shoved her finger right in Wan Wan's face. Wan Wan casually took a step back. Keep your finger out of my face. I absolutely hate it when people point at me. The atmosphere in the room instantly turned to ice. Everyone else was so tense they barely even dared to breathe. It was only then that it hit me. So this was what Chingru meant when she told me to prove it. She actually didn't believe that I loved her. She honestly thought I was still just using her. She thought I'd never have the guts to kiss her right in front of Momo. Well, bet you didn't see this coming, did you? I would gladly do it 1,000 times over. Chingru watched the tense standoff and finally spoke up, her voice soft but firm. Enough. Instantly, the entire room fell dead silent. Over a dozen pairs of eyes snapped straight to Chingru. Her voice carried a sharp, undeniable edge of anger. Do not cause a scene in my place. Everyone instantly froze, feeling like a bucket of ice-cold water had just been dumped right over their heads. After all, we were standing on the Chi family's turf. Stirring up trouble here would be an absolute death wish. Someone glanced over at Momo, silently begging for a cue on what to do next, but Momo's furious gaze was locked dead on me. Suddenly, Su Tian got a bright idea and yelled across the room, Shi-Chen! Are you blind? Can't you see they're bullying Momo? Hurry up and get over here to help her! On cue, every single eye in the room snapped right back to me, including Chingru's. Enough, Chingru muttered. Do you really want to make a total fool of yourself in front of all these people? I just kept my head down, completely pretending I didn't hear a word, Su Tian said. Chingru pursed her lips tightly. Did my words just hit a nerve? Momo had totally reached the end of her rope. She was seething, thinking, ever since Shi-Chen walked into this banquet hall, he hasn't even looked my way once. He was never ever like this before. In the past, the second I walked into a room, his eyes would be glued to me. A sudden wave of panic washed over her. It was the terrifying feeling that something was finally slipping completely out of her control. Momo spoke through violently gritted teeth. Shi-Chen, if you are quite done throwing your little tantrum, get over here right now. I'll pretend today never happened. Hearing that arrogant tone, like she was somehow doing me a massive favor, I finally slowly looked up at her. It was the very first time I had bothered to look at her all night. I stared at her for exactly 2 seconds. Then, I stood up and started walking straight toward her. The rage in Momo's eyes instantly melted away, replaced by a disgustingly smug smirk. I knew it, she thought. He was just putting on an act to make me jealous. The crowd exchanged awkward glances. Nobody dared to say a single word. They just instinctively parted like the Red Sea to let me walk through. Wan Wan hesitated for a split second. I can block Momo, she muttered. But I've got absolutely no right to stop Shi-Chen. She rolled her eyes hard at Momo, shook her head in total defeat, and stepped aside. God, this guy has the absolute worst taste in women. In what universe is Chingru worse than this spoiled brat from the He family? Chingru's cheeks puffed out in frustration. She pressed her lips together and aggressively looked away, refusing to make eye contact with anyone. She tapped her toe against the floor, fighting every urge in her body to just drag me back. I say one slightly harsh word to you, and you look like you've seen a ghost, she thought bitterly. But when she treats you like absolute trash, you still run right back to her like a lapdog. Ugh, what a massive idiot. Honestly, after all these years, I really should be used to this by now. It's just, his performance today was so flawless, it actually messed with my head. For a second there, I was actually stupidly happy thinking he was finally willing to just look at me. Whatever. Forget it. I'll just consider today the very last time I ever tried to help him. Feeling totally defeated, Chingru stood up. Without even a backward glance at me, she turned to leave the hall. But she hadn't even taken 2 steps before a huge commotion exploded behind her. Shi-Chen! Are you completely out of your freaking mind? She spun around to see Momo aggressively pointing a finger at my chest, screaming in total shock. Say that to my face again. I could say it 100 times, I replied coldly. I still don't like you, and I have zero interest in you. I slowly turned my head and flashed a bright, winning smile right at Chingru. See? I just told Momo that I am completely uninterested, and that she needs to stop causing trouble. Is that good enough for you, Chingru? Chingru's heart skipped a massive beat. She stared at me dumbfounded. Does he seriously have amnesia or something? Seeing her completely stunned into silence, my eyes darted around and a brilliant idea hit me. I instantly slumped my shoulders, pretending to be super weak, and reached my hand out to her. My leg is cramping up. Chingru, could you come help me up? The entire banquet hall dropped into a stunned, dead silence. Chingru just stared at me for a few long, quiet seconds. And then, with every single jaw in the room practically hitting the floor, she walked straight toward me. She stopped right in front of me. Without saying a single word, she just gently grabbed my arm and draped it over her shoulder to hold me up. I looked down at her, my eyes shining, grinning like an absolute idiot. Momo ground her teeth together so hard they nearly snapped. She glared absolute daggers at the two of us and shrieked, Chi Chingru, where exactly do you think you're taking my Shichen? He's mine. I had this gut-wrenching feeling. If I let Chi Chingru take Achen away right now, I was going to lose him forever. Chi Chingru just tilted her head to look at her. The icy glare in her eyes melted away, replaced by a devastatingly smug smirk playing on her lips. From now on, he's mine. Achen made the choice to walk toward me, all on his own. So, whether he's suffering from amnesia or just trying to use me, he doesn't get to back out now. No regrets. She smiled, looking absolutely radiant, and gently supported my weight. I had willingly walked right into her arms, and without looking back, we left. Even so, Chingru insisted on dragging me straight to the hospital. It wasn't out of malice, though. She honestly just wanted to see if my brain was completely broken. The second we got into the car, I couldn't stop myself from leaning my entire body against her. But she just shot me a freezing glare. Sit up straight, my mouth twitched in annoyance. Come on, Chingru. Do you really hate it when I hug you? Man, the current Chingru is just so icy. What a cruel, bad woman. Leaning back in her seat, she casually threw a dagger at my heart. Were you this insanely clingy with Momo back in the day too? Acting like you don't have a single bone in your body, always needing to lean on someone? I scowled, muttering under my breath, why'd you keep dragging her name into this? She just turned her head to stare out the window, looking completely over it. Do you honestly think I want to bring up Momo? How many years were you absolutely obsessed with her? Did you conveniently forget that? The moment we hit the hospital doors, Chingru didn't mess around. She had the staff set up a massive full-body checkup for me, even throwing in a psych evaluation just to be safe. I was completely speechless, seriously. But if letting them poke and prod me put her mind at ease, then fine, I'd do it. The physical exams were a breeze, but man, that psychiatric evaluation, they grilled me with endless questions. And no matter what the doc asked, my answer was always a deadpan. I don't know. But the second he mentioned Chi Chingru, my eyes literally lit up like fireworks. By the end of the grueling session, the doctor was looking at me with the most complicated, baffled expression. Finally, he scribbled a few words onto my medical report and walked out to hand it over to Chingru, who was waiting in the hall, with a ridiculously weird smile. He gently placed the file into her hands. Don't worry, ma'am. His mental state is perfectly normal. No major red flags at all, just, well, one tiny little issue, but that's it. I trailed right behind the doctor, eavesdropping. Turns out these two were actually acquaintances. The doctor glanced back, shot me a knowing grin, and then told her, anyway, I've got patients to see. Make yourselves at home, you two. I quickly bowed my head. Thanks, Doc. I really appreciate it. Watching him walk away down the corridor, I sidled up to Chingru, batting my eyes with total innocence. So, what's the verdict? What did he say? She just stared down at the report. With a heavy sigh and a super conflicted look, she shoved the paper at my chest. Read it yourself. I grabbed the sheet and my eyes instantly locked onto the final diagnosis at the very bottom. Physical and psychiatric exams show 0 organic diseases. Emotional fluctuations strictly caused by relationship issues. Mental state is normal. I scratched my head playing dumb. What exactly is this supposed to mean? Chingru let out an exhausted sigh. It means you are totally lovesick, you idiot. I nodded enthusiastically, a huge grin spreading across my face. Gotta hand it to him. This doctor had an incredible eye for talent. Meanwhile, Chingru was rereading that report from top to bottom, completely torn. The truth was, right there was absolutely nothing physically wrong with me. Her mind was racing. If he's faking this whole thing just to get close to me, then what the hell is HN actually plotting? If this has nothing to do with Momo, what on earth would drive him to throw everything away and desperately cling to someone he used to despise? And if he isn't faking, can a guy really change this drastically overnight? Lost in her thoughts, she couldn't stop herself from reaching out and roughly ruffling my hair. No weird bumps or bruises. She pulled back and asked, totally deadpan, "Hey, when you got into the elevator this morning, did your head get slammed in the doors or something?" I stared at her, utterly speechless. Wow. You could try being just a little more obvious with the sarcasm, you know? Feeling totally defeated, I looked into her eyes. Why is it so hard for you to just believe that I actually like you? Chingru pulled her hand back, her gaze locking onto mine. What do you think, Shi-Chen? If you were in my shoes, would you buy this? Honestly, she had a point. I wouldn't have believed she actually loved me either. Not until that deadly fire changed everything. My goofy smile vanished, replaced by dead seriousness. The truth is, I've always had feelings for you. It's not like I just magically fell for you this morning. Always, she whispered, her long eyelashes fluttering in surprise. She looked caught off guard by the word always. I stepped closer, speaking from the bottom of my heart. I just never had the guts to approach you before. You're so incredible. And you always acted so ice cold around me. I honestly felt like a total loser, like I was never going to be good enough for someone like you. My voice cracked, dripping with insecurity. Chingru just frowned, crossing her arms. Looking half furious and half amused, she scoffed. Oh, please, Shi-Chen, do not play the victim card with me right now. You were the one freezing me out all these years. I immediately scrambled to defend myself. I was just lashing out because it drove me crazy that I couldn't have you. All that unrequited love just morphed into stupid resentment. She gritted her teeth, her patience wearing paper thin. Save the cheap sweet talk. Stop trying to change the subject. My mouth twitched again. Come on. Can't you just let me win this one time? I groaned. I'm pouring my heart out here, giving you a totally serious confession. Hey, listen to me! But Chingru just stayed dead silent. Swallowing down her visible irritation, she spun on her heel and started marching down the hall. I just stood there, watching her walk away. Seeing she had absolutely zero intention of stopping for me, I yelled out, Chingru! She finally hit the brakes and glanced back over her shoulder. I blinked up at her, my voice turning incredibly soft. Chingru. My leg really hurts. The second those pathetic words left my mouth, she instantly knew. I was back to my utterly shameless tricks. She scoffed, her voice dripping with ice. Then don't move. Walk or don't walk, I really don't care. With that, she spun on her heel and walked away. I just stood there, rooted to the spot, not moving and not saying a single word. Chingru was just about to reach the elevator doors. She closed her eyes for a split second, taking a deep breath, and then, without hesitation, she turned right back around. Gritting her teeth, she leaned in and whispered in my ear, Shi-Chen, I swear I must have owed you in a past life. I let out a dark, low chuckle, draping my arm over her shoulder and leaning in close enough to lightly brush against her cheek. Then I whispered back, No, I'm the one who owes you, my sweet Chingru. Hearing those words, the deep irritation in Chingru's heart actually started to melt away. But she still scoffed coldly. You owe me? Then shouldn't you be the one carrying me right now? Have you ever seen a debtor acting so damn arrogant in front of the person they owe? I looked at her and answered completely seriously. Normally speaking, it's never easy for a creditor to collect a debt, and the bigger the debt, the harder it is to actually collect. So, the creditor has to coax the debtor and keep them company. Only then can that massive debt slowly be paid back over time. Chingru let out a light scoff. You sure have a lot of twisted logic. I leaned even closer to her, my breath ghosting her ear as I whispered, The debt I owe you is absolutely massive. So, You have to stay by my side for an entire lifetime. That way, I'll have a whole lifetime to slowly pay back my debt to the woman I love. Okay. A lifetime. The two of us stepped into the elevator together. She looked up, her eyes locking intently onto mine. Chen, do you even know what a lifetime really means? Of course I do. I looked deeply into her beautiful eyes and answered word by word. A lifetime means never leaving, never giving up, and staying together until we grow old. Chingru and I were now living in the exact same apartment building. She was living upstairs and I was right downstairs. After being ruthlessly kicked out of the Shi family, I literally had nowhere to go for a while. It was actually Songyi who stepped up and rented this place out for me. But only later did I find out that this apartment actually belonged to Chingru all along. She had secretly gotten someone to rent it out to Songyi at a ridiculously low price. Chingru walked me all the way to my door. Can I really not stay at your place tonight? Chingru just shot me a sharp glare. Have some restraint, will you? I let out a totally disappointed sigh, walking toward my door and looking back at her every 3 steps like a lost puppy. Chingru just stood by the elevator with a look of pure disgust, watching me reluctantly drag my feet into my apartment. But the second she was sure I had closed the door, that feigned disgust on Chingru's face instantly melted into pure joy. The corners of her lips curled all the way up before she quickly forced them back down. Tonight was seriously thrilling for her. It was a complete emotional roller coaster from start to finish. Even now, Chen's words in the hospital elevator, never leaving, never giving up, staying together until we grow older, are still echoing in my ears. But it all feels so incredibly unreal. I'm not just dreaming, am I? What I didn't know was that my simple actions and words had caused the intense love she had suppressed for so many years to finally erupt. God only knows how much restraint I needed just now to suppress the overwhelming urge to take Chen home with me. Chingru took one last lingering look at my tightly closed door, then turned around, walked upstairs, and headed straight into the bathroom to wash up. But suddenly, a sharp, inexplicable pain violently shot right through the back of Chingru's hand. She cried out in pure shock. Dropping her mouthwash cup with a clatter, she quickly raised her hand to inspect her skin. There were absolutely no marks on her skin, yet the stinging pain was definitely still there. Chingru quickly turned off the faucet and turned to leave the bathroom. She collapsed onto the sofa, raising her hand again to examine the back of it. The strange pain was slowly starting to fade. Chingru leaned back against the cushions and closed her eyes. Just then, the doorbell suddenly rang. She snapped her eyes open and immediately saw it, my cheeky, completely shameless face grinning right back at her from the doorbell monitor. Chingru sighed helplessly, muttering to herself, Chen, can't you just give me a single moment of peace? But then, she let out a soft, self-deprecating laugh. Forget it. Wasn't I secretly hoping he'd come back anyway? Chingru walked over and swung the door open. Staring at me, she said in a totally helpless tone, Chen, do you have any idea what time it is? She noticed I was still wearing the exact same clothes from before, wondering what on earth I had been doing since I went back down to my apartment. I just stood at the door, pitifully reaching my hand out toward her like a wounded animal. Chingru, my hand got scratched by Mao Chu. The angry red scratch mark on my hand was exceptionally obvious. Chingru stared intently at my wound, her heart suddenly skipping a beat in deep unease. Wait. Isn't this the exact same spot where I felt that sharp pain just now? Is it really just a bizarre coincidence? She quickly snapped back to reality and asked, Have you treated it at all? I shook my head innocently. I don't know how. Chingru frowned deeply. You literally own a cat, and you don't know how to treat a simple scratch. That's right. Mao Chu was my cat, and I'd been raising him for 4 whole years. When I finally left the Shi family, he was the only thing I brought with me. I answered as if it were the most natural thing in the whole world, but I've never been scratched by a cat before. Isn't it completely normal that I wouldn't know how to fix it? Chingru just couldn't be bothered to argue with my nonsense anymore. She grabbed my wrist and pulled me straight into her room, while a sly hint of a smile flashed quickly in my eyes. Chingru suddenly whipped her head around. I blinked innocently, instantly putting on that pitiful puppy face again. What's wrong? His acting skills are seriously top-notch. Chingru scoffed inwardly, before rolling her eyes and dragging me straight into the kitchen. The icy water hit my skin like a sudden shock. She turned on the faucet, gently gripping my hand, and held it right under the stream. letting the rushing water wash the blood from my fresh wound. I flinched. The sharp sting biting into my flesh was jarring, but then Chingru, who was holding my hand so carefully, suddenly trembled. An inexplicable heavy dread washed over her. Why? Because in that exact second, the back of her own hand flared with a phantom sting, actual undeniable pain. She locked her eyes onto my wound. The scratch wasn't deep, just a shallow break in the skin welling up with a tiny bead of blood. Taking a soft, shaky breath, she pushed down those crazy thoughts. Chingru finally broke the silence. I'll have a doctor swing by later to give you a rabies shot. Yeah. Okay, I muttered, nodding. We were standing dangerously close right now. I tilted my head down, catching sight of her small, delicate face twisted in a worried frown. Staring at those tightly knitted brows, I felt a sudden, unexpected tug at my heartstrings. Feeling the weight of my gaze, Chingru shifted uncomfortably and casually tugged her clothes tighter around herself. I shot her a teasing smirk, so stingy. She stayed quiet for a beat before asking, totally bewildered, why on earth did your cat attack you? You've raised him for years. Why would he suddenly snap? Especially a male cat that I personally dragged to the vet to get fixed? I let out a low, awkward grumble. I have no clue, I replied. Honestly, I think my house is haunted. There's some bad juju in there. Chingru stared at me, utterly speechless. She probably thought Hee-chan was losing his mind, just making up wild excuses out of thin air. But I kept my eyes locked on hers, dead serious. I swear, the cat probably saw a ghost. That's why he totally flipped out. Chingru, I don't even dare step foot back in there right now. Seriously. He's an absolute menace today. He goes feral the second he lays eyes on me. Deep down, though, a heavy wave of guilt was eating at me. I had a sinking feeling that Mao Chi somehow knew he could tell I wasn't exactly the same person anymore. Chingru just stood there, silently listening to my desperate rambling. So, I gave her the best puppy dog eyes I could muster. So, can I crash at your place, just for one night, please? Chingru leaned in, squinting at me in disbelief. Chen, how am I just now realizing how incredibly thick-skinned you are? I raised a hand, swearing solemnly. I promise, everything I just said is 100% true. If you don't believe me, come downstairs and see for yourself. She stared me down for a few tense seconds. Then, remembering that weird phantom sting from earlier, she gave a slow nod. Fine, let's go. With that, she turned and headed straight for the living room. That's enough rinsing. Dry your hand off. I'm going to disinfect that cut. She came back with a cotton swab soaked in iodine and gently dabbed the wound. The very second the medicine touched my skin, a sharp, burning sting flared across my hand. Chingru's hand, the one holding the swab, went completely stiff. That impossible sensation of feeling my pain, it was getting clearer, sharper. She slowly looked up, locking eyes with me. Does it hurt? I gave a small nod and mumbled, just a little bit. Chingru obviously knew exactly how much it hurt. She took a deep, shaky breath, tossed the cotton swab in the trash and said, let's go. Let's go check out your haunted house. The second we got downstairs and the door cracked open, I immediately ducked behind her like a total coward. She shot me a helpless, exasperated glare. This is your own apartment. What on earth are you hiding for? My eyes, however, were swirling with a messy storm of emotions. I'm telling you, he's a monster right now, I whispered. Just a few minutes ago, I walked in and Mao Chi was fast asleep on the couch, just a cute, fluffy little ball. I sat down next to him and just spaced out, gently rubbing his furry little head. It had been such a long, long time since I last saw him. My heart ached at the memory. In that tragic fire from my past life, Mao Chu never made it out. But then, right as I was petting him, he woke up. At first, he nuzzled his head right into my palm. But just as he was about to jump into my lap, his round eyes blew wide open. In a split second, his fur stood on end, and he went completely savage. Before I could even yank my hand back, he slashed me. I had to jump up and scramble away. He arched his back, glaring at me like I was the devil himself. Seeing him get ready to pounce, I didn't even think I'd just booked it upstairs to your place. Now, as the door slowly swung open, the living room lights were still blazing bright. Realizing I wasn't just spinning a web of lies, Chingru took the lead, stepping bravely into the living room. The moment we cleared the entryway, we spotted the cat. He was just happily chasing his own tail, spinning in dizzy circles right there on the floor. Chingru whipped her head around, giving me the most deadpan look ever. This is what you call a feral monster? But just as I opened my mouth to defend myself, Mao Chi heard us and snapped his head over. The carefree cat from a second ago vanished. Instantly, he puffed up like a spiked balloon. His fur spiked, his back arched into a tight bow, and his fangs bared with a low hiss. He was absolutely ready to tear my face off. Without thinking, I grabbed Chingru's small hand and dragged her behind me, shielding her. "See?" I yelled helplessly. "He's acting like a complete psycho!" Mao Chi dug his claws in, ready to charge. Chingru quickly pulled me back, sidestepping his attack, and snapped in an icy tone, "Mao Chi, knock it off." My grip on her hand tightened even more. "He's a cat! He doesn't understand human words!" I panicked. "We need to get the heck out of here right now. First thing tomorrow, I'm calling someone to drag his furry butt to the vet." But right at that very moment, Mao Chi locked eyes with Chingru. He visibly froze. Like magic, the bloodthirsty rage in his eyes just melted away. His puffed up fur smoothed back down into a sleek coat instantly. It was like he had just been reunited with his long-lost mother. He trotted over, rubbing his face against her leg, letting out the softest, most pathetic little meows, acting like a totally spoiled baby. Watching him beg for attention, Chingru couldn't help but think he was acting exactly like me. She let out a soft, breathy chuckle, her voice melting into a warm, gentle tone. "Looks to me like he's way more obedient than you are." My face darkened with pure exasperation as I grumbled. "This ungrateful little furball. I raised him through blood, sweat, and tears. How could he betray me like this?" Chingru just curled her lips into a playful smirk. "All right, let go of me first." But I stubbornly held onto her small hand, refusing to budge. Chingru turned her head, shooting me a look. Taking the chance, I leaned in close and lightly pecked her cheek before finally pulling my hand back. A flash of secret dissatisfaction crossed her heart. That idiot A-Chen stealing kisses again, she thought to herself. Bending down, Chingru scooped up the cat rubbing against her leg. She sat on the sofa, placed the kitty on her lap, and gently stroked Malkia's head. She looked down, carefully checking if anything was wrong with him. Malkia was incredibly docile in her arms, lying quietly as he let her pet and examine him. I stood off to the side, watching the suddenly tame cat, and figured it was safe to walk over. But who knew? The second I got within 3 steps, Malkia popped his head right up and hissed at me violently. I froze in my tracks. Chingru furrowed her brows and lightly tapped the cat's head. "Hey, who are you getting all fierce with?" Malkia meowed pitifully, deflating as he settled back down. Still, those eyes glaring daggers at me were far from friendly. Chingru looked up at my absolutely dejected face, her fingers curled slightly against the fur. I checked him over, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with him, I muttered in total disappointment. Then why is he so mad at me? It's like he doesn't even recognize his own owner. Chingru lowered her gaze thoughtfully. Maybe it's not the cat's problem, but a problem with the man standing right in front of me. She wasn't exactly superstitious, but she had always heard that cats were extremely sensitive to changes in a person's soul. What did HN do to make him so uneasy? She wondered. Or rather, is the person standing in front of me really the HN I know? That wild thought made her heart race. Chingru lifted the cat off her lap and gave his butt a light pat, shooing him away to go play somewhere else. Malkia refused to leave, simply jumping back onto the sofa to curl up securely by her side. But Chingru didn't mind him. Looking up at me, she softly called out, "Chi-Chen." Then she reached her hand out. "Come here." I took 2 steps forward and grabbed her hand, letting her pull me down onto the sofa. Without warning, Chingru leaned her soft body intimately close to mine. My eyes widened in shock. "Chingru?" I asked, completely caught off guard. This was the first time today she had actively closed the distance between us. Her delicate fingertip lightly tapped my chin, tilting it up to signal me to look into her eyes. Her voice carried a heavy hint of shy vulnerability. "Don't move. Just let me look at you." Our faces were dangerously close, close enough that I could clearly see my own reflection in her dark pupils. I asked in total confusion, "What exactly are you looking at?" Chi Ching-gru's small hand gently traced the lines of my face. She stared at me, her crystal clear eyes perfectly reflecting my stunned expression. At this moment, I'm absolutely certain. The man sitting next to me is my A-Chen, she thought. Blushing deeply, she whispered, "A-Chen, there's no one else here right now." I completely missed the hidden meaning in her words. Slowly, Chi Ching-gru leaned even closer, asking in a husky, breathless whisper, "Do you still want to kiss?" Her breath was agonizingly warm. Her lips were so close as she spoke that they were practically brushing against mine. My breath hitched in my throat. In that split second, I could clearly see the raw care and desperate earnestness burning in her eyes. I was all too familiar with that exact look. In my past life, she had looked at me exactly like this. It was right after the day those scandalous videos were exposed. Just as the whole world was wildly guessing about the nature of our relationship, someone else deliberately leaked the news that Chi Ching-gru and the second young master of the Jingdu Su family were preparing to get engaged. Apparently, the two powerful families had already sealed the deal right before the new year. That bastard, second young master Su Mue, even posted on Weibo pointedly declaring, "He who commits many injustices is doomed to ruin." Everyone and their mother knew he was talking about me. For a time, the court of public opinion was flooded with pure, unadulterated malice aimed straight at my head. Even though the trending topics were quickly scrubbed, Su Mue deleted his post with a fake apology, and Chi Ching-gru personally took to Weibo to clarify everything, publicly stating that she was the one actively pursuing me and had absolutely zero relationship with Su Mue. But by then, the damage was done. Almost no one was willing to believe the truth. I was completely drowning in the vicious public backlash. Crumbling under the immense pressure, even my own parents in the Chi family started treating me like a stranger. And don't even get me started on Momo, who looked at me with eyes full of icy distance and absolute rejection. I was in so much sheer agony during that dark time, with absolutely nowhere to vent my suffocating emotions. So, I unfairly unleashed it all onto Chi Ching-gru. Back then, she had looked at me just like this, but the foolish me of the past had mistaken her deep care for pity and malice. It was only much, much later that I finally understood. The fierce persistence and tender warmth in her eyes was a desperate love she had suppressed for years. She had been in love with me for a very, very long time. Seeing me suddenly space out, Chi Ching-gru lightly pursed her lips and teased, "What? Don't want to kiss anymore?" I snapped violently back to reality, my arms instinctively pulling her into a tight hug. "No, I do," I rasped. "Then, kiss me," she whispered, her voice trembling with an unconscious shyness. "I'm offering myself up for my A-Chen to kiss." Her words made my ears burn hot. But in that fleeting moment, my mind suddenly flashed back to the events of my past life. I knew I had to get this straight first. I reached out and gently pushed her back a bit while she shot me a look mixed with embarrassment and a touch of annoyance. I looked her dead in the eye and asked, "Are you and Su Mue getting engaged?" Chi Ching-gru froze. "Who on earth is Su Mue?" she asked. My face was full of exasperation. Honestly, she had already explained this to me once before. She had absolutely nothing to do with him. Their families had arranged for them to meet once, sure, but she had shut him down right then and there. It's just that today, Chi Ching-gru and I blew up on the trending topics. Now, the whole internet is out there guessing our relationship. Even though no one had set me up this time around, if we follow the timeline of my past life, tomorrow the news of Chi Ching-gru and Su Mue's engagement would skyrocket to the top of the trending list, and that guy would definitely make that post again. So, this time, I had to nip it in the bud. I couldn't just sit around and wait for public opinion to blow up before trying to fix the mess. People nowadays almost never believe an after-the-fact clarification anyway. I glared at her, jogging her memory. The second young master of the Su family, Su Mue, the one who just came back from abroad before the new year. Didn't you two go on a blind date? And you still have the nerve to say you don't know him? Speaking of which, during Chi Ching-gru and Su Mue's blind date, I had actually bumped into them by pure coincidence. At the time, the two of them were walking shoulder to shoulder right out of a restaurant's private room. I had glared at her from afar, bitterly muttering in my heart, why the hell do I run into her everywhere I go? And she's with some handsome guy too. It really pissed me off. Was it only now, looking back, that I finally realized I was jealous? So, she was out on a blind date back then, and now she's acting like she has no clue who he is. I immediately tried to pull away from her grasp. Chi Ching-gru just smiled gently. Ah Chen, be good. Then, as if a light bulb finally went off, she said, Oh, you mean Suer? Suer? My heart instantly soured. You're calling him awfully intimately, aren't you? You call him Suer, but you call me by my full name, I grumbled. Chi Ching-gru sighed helplessly. Literally everyone calls him that. I didn't even know what his actual name was. If I don't call him that, what else am I supposed to call him? Su Muhei had gone abroad when he was young and had only been back for a few months. When it came to Jingdu's wealthy circle of young masters and misses, he wasn't exactly a familiar face. I've only met the guy once. I really didn't remember his name. All I knew was that everyone called him Suer. As she spoke, her soft little face affectionately rubbed against my chest, her voice carrying a playful hint of a smile. Besides, if calling him Suer counts as intimate, do you want me to start calling you Shida from now on? I was completely left speechless by her comeback. Shida really did sound terrible. Whatever, I wasn't going to dwell on this. Still confused, I asked her, then what exactly happened with your blind date with him? Chi Ching-gru pouted her small lips. Does meeting a guy once really count as a blind date? Look, my grandmother did ask me to meet him once, but before I went to the restaurant, I had absolutely no idea it was to meet him. The moment I got there, I rejected him straight to his face. This was pretty much exactly what she had told me in my past life. I frowned slightly. But what about your family? They naturally respect my wishes, she replied. The Chi family doesn't need to rely on any marriage alliances to begin with. My parents obviously prioritize what makes me happy. Plus, the whole thing was only arranged by my grandmother at the time. My grandmother and Su Muhei's grandmother were incredibly close friends in their youth, even though they drifted apart later on. His grandmother was the one who brought this up herself. My grandmother only asked me to meet him just to give her some face. It absolutely cannot be called an intended marriage alliance. I fell into deep thought. So, they really didn't have anything going on between them. I breathed a massive sigh of relief. But still, I absolutely had to stop Su Muhei from making that post. What should I do? Chi Ching-gru looked up at me, a little confused. She was definitely wondering what was going on. Why was Ah-chen acting weirder and weirder? She knew it was him, but something just felt off. She tilted her head and glanced at Mao Chu, who was still curled up right beside her. The little furball was still giving me a totally unfriendly glare. Chi Ching-gru pouted and looked back at me. How long ago was that? You even glared at me back then. Did you really think I didn't notice? Why are you suddenly bringing this up now? Her small face wore a clear look of displeasure. Are you just trying to reject me? So, you just found this lame excuse to brush me off. Ah, Chen, can't you keep up the act anymore? I looked down at her, my voice completely softening. I'm not acting, then prove it to me. Chi Ching-gru leaned closer, closing the distance between us. Ah, Chen, come a little closer. She had made up her mind. If Ah Chen wasn't willing to kiss her, then she would just have to kiss him. She didn't want to hold back anymore. After all, he was the one who approached her first anyway. Just as I was about to say something, Chi Ching-gru slowly leaned in. Her nose almost brushed against my cheek, and my heart wildly stirred. I realized that her current, melting gentleness was completely different from her cold dominance in my past life. In my past life, we almost never shared this kind of tender intimacy. That furball next to Chi Ching-gru suddenly started acting up again, rubbing against her lap and making a huge fuss. Ching-gru just turned and gave the little troublemaker a look. I glanced over too, but the exact second our eyes met, he completely bared his fangs at me. Ching-gru frowned, scolding him in this soft, gentle voice. Mao Chi just let out a pathetic little meow, totally playing the victim. I shifted uncomfortably and said, Ching-gru, I really don't want to be here right now. She instantly picked up on my vibe, grabbed my hand and got us ready to leave. Seeing us head for the door, that cat hopped lightly onto the floor, totally ready to tail us. But one sharp look from Ching-gru stopped him dead in his tracks. He whimpered, flopping onto his belly, giving me those big, sad eyes. Yeah, That's definitely the cat I raised. Honestly, that pathetic look is way too much like my own. But Chingru completely ignored him. As the door clicked shut, I threw one last glance at the living room. Mao-Chi seriously hates my guts now. He even went out of his way to ruin my moment with Chingru. Is it because he can sense I'm not the same person I used to be? Chingru quietly led me back to her apartment. I leaned in, whispering right in her ear. See? I told you he was acting vicious, didn't I? Chingru just looked at me. So, what are we going to do about it? Are you just going to give him up? She asked, wandering over to the kitchen. My brow furrowed. I've raised Mao-Chi for 4 whole years. He was a birthday gift from a total mystery. Back then, I had absolutely no clue who dropped him off. Just a basic little card by the door that read Happy Birthday. I asked around everywhere, but couldn't figure out who gave him to me. My friends even laughed, joking about what kind of weirdo gift such an incredibly average-looking stray. But they all forgot I've been absolutely obsessed with cats since I was a little kid. My childhood pet got sent away the second Shiyibai joined the family, all because he was supposedly allergic to fur. But now I know Mao-Chi was actually a gift from Chingru. There's no way I could bear giving him up. It's just the way things are right now. Maybe it really isn't safe for me to keep him around. I stared at Chingru's back as she poured the water. And suddenly, a light bulb went off in my head. Hey, how about this? I'll just live here with you from now on. We can make Songy stay downstairs to take care of Mao-Chi. And whenever Mao-Chi stops hating me, I'll move back. Chingru turned around holding her glass, a dangerously sly smirk playing on her lips. Right. Or, why not just send the cat to Song Yi's place, she countered. I kept a completely straight face as I began spouting absolute nonsense. Oh, you know Mao-Chi. He's super attached to his territory. If he moves, he won't eat, he won't sleep, he'll definitely get sick. The corners of her mouth curled up into a teasing smile as she handed me the water. Uh-huh. So, what you're saying is, you aren't attached to your territory. I took the glass, sipping it casually. Nope, I don't care about places. I only get attached to people. I flashed her, my brightest smile. As long as you're around, I eat well, I sleep well. I'm basically the perfect house guest. Her voice suddenly dropped, sounding impossibly gentle. Ah, Chen. Our eyes locked. Her soft, pale fingers brushed against my ear, giving it a playful little tug. It's almost like you've turned into a completely different person. She said it like a joke, but my pupils instantly dilated. The hand gripping my glass gave a violent, uncontrollable twitch. I swallowed hard, desperately forcing myself to keep my cool. What? Don't be crazy. Your imagination is running wild. A massive wave of panic crashed over me. Anyway, I don't care. I'm crashing at your place. If you try to kick me out, I'll literally sleep right on your welcome mat. After dropping that line, I spun around on my heel, power walking straight for the living room. I was terrified she'd see right through me. If she figured out I wasn't the old me, would she treat me just like Mao-Chi did and start pushing me away? But the exact second I turned my back, her arms slipped firmly around my waist. Before I could even react, she pulled me close, pressing her forehead gently against my shoulder. I had no idea that this was a moment she had never even dared to dream about before. Chen used to always push me away. He only ever had eyes for Himomo. Every single time I saw our Chen looking so blissfully happy beside her, I wanted to scream to ask him what on earth he actually saw in Himomo. I was obviously not a step down from her. Actually, I did ask him once, back when Himomo shoved him aside yet again. I asked him, playing it off as a joke, what exactly do you like about her? You might as well just date me instead. I'm definitely not worse than Himomo. But his answer was ice cold. I just don't have those kinds of feelings for you. For so many years, Chi Chingru had secretly tortured herself with one thought. If Ah Chen would give me even 1/10,000th of the tenderness he gives her, I'd be incredibly happy. And now, it was like a beautiful, impossible dream suddenly playing out in real life. Chen is right in front of me, telling me he loves me, saying he wants to stay by my side for a lifetime, actively trying to get closer to me. But our perfect moment was shattered just seconds later by a noise at the door. Someone was unlocking it, walking right in, and of course we heard the loudmouth before we even saw her. Chingru, what on earth is happening this late at night? Why did you call someone over to give you a rabies shot? Her voice completely cut off, replaced by a loud, "Oh my!" The absolute split second she spoke, I grabbed Chingru and yanked her straight into the kitchen. Song Wanwan just stood frozen at the entryway, staring blankly as two living, breathing human beings magically vanished into thin air. She saw exactly what Chingru was up to just a second ago. Oh man, that was definitely not your average, innocent little hug. I mean, seriously, who would have thought she had it in her? She was literally watching Chingru's spicy gossip unfold in real time. Right on cue, Chingru stepped out and shot a massive eye roll at Song Wanwan. Song Wanwan let out a wicked, knowing laugh. Ha ha! I totally didn't see a single thing. You guys go right ahead and keep at it. Just pretend I don't even exist. With that little tease, she spun around with a massive grin, even being thoughtful enough to pull the door shut behind her. Leaning back against the closed door, Wanwan let out a breathless giggle. Hee hee! Oh my god, this is way too thrilling. Suddenly, the elevator let out a sharp ding. Liang Qingcheng stepped out, clutching a first aid kit. Spotting Song Wanwan loitering in the hall, he blinked in pure confusion. What exactly are you doing just standing out here? He shot a suspicious look at the door behind her. Wait, did Chingru seriously get a pet dog for her apartment? Song Wanwan paused for a second, then gave a slow, knowing nod. She smirked. Oh, it's not just a dog. There's a cat in there too, and trust me, they are going at it right now. So, no need to rush. Let's just wait out here until they're done fighting before we interrupt. Hearing that, Liang Qingcheng's eyes went wide with absolute shock. Meanwhile, back inside the apartment, I stepped out of the kitchen, feeling completely flustered. Are we actually supposed to continue? I muttered, totally at a loss for words. Oh? You actually want to keep going after that? Chingru teased, her eyes curving into playful little crescents. What's wrong? Are you embarrassed already? I mean, earlier, when we were in front of a massive crowd, you didn't hold back at all. I groaned. How is that even the same thing? That was out in public. Now we're supposed to be alone in the house, and we literally just got caught red-handed. Don't you feel the least bit awkward? Honestly, Chingru just couldn't wrap her head around my logic. She actually thought my panic was hilarious. Grabbing my hand, she gave it a soft, gentle swing. But aren't we being intimate right out in the open right now? It's not like we're sneaking around, right? I let out a heavy sigh and looked her dead in the eye. Honestly, it feels exactly like we're sneaking around. Chingru just let out a soft laugh, totally amused by my weird reasoning. So let me get this straight, Chen. You don't want to take our relationship public, is that it? As the words left her mouth, that playful spark in her eyes faded a little. She thought to herself, does HM really want to keep us a secret? Is he still just putting on an act to string me along? But I quickly shook my head. Hey, it's not me holding back, it's you! After all, whenever I tried to show her some affection in public, she'd suddenly act all shy and push me away. But the second we were behind closed doors, she turned incredibly bold and proactive. Didn't that clearly mean she was the one trying to keep us a secret? I tilted my head and gave her a pointed look. Come on, look at the facts. Whenever we're out, you won't even let me within an inch of you. Seriously, count it yourself. Just how many times did you brush me off today? Chingru blinked, completely caught off guard. She clearly hadn't expected me to flip the script on her like that. She thought back to just this morning, when he'd looked so annoyed and impatient the second he laid eyes on her. Then, out of nowhere tonight, he completely flip-flopped and actively started coming on to me. Under those conditions, how could I ever dare to be the one to initiate things? Chingru felt incredibly exasperated. Rolling her eyes, she confidently hooked her arm right through mine, tilting her pretty face up to lock eyes with me. Oh, is that how it is? So what if I call them inside right now and we pick up exactly where we left off right in front of them? She challenged. I nodded. Fine by me. Wait, before I could even get another word out, Chingru just nodded back. Dropping my arm, she turned around. I froze in place. By the time I snapped out of it, she was already marching toward the living room. Honestly, there was no way in hell I believed she'd actually follow through and make out with me right in front of Song Wanwan. Still, I didn't make a move to stop her from answering the door either. I mean, making our friends stand out in the hallway all night was pretty terrible manners. I grabbed my glass of water from earlier and quickly downed the rest. Across the room, Chi Ching-gru had already yanked the front door wide open. Get in here, you two. Liang Ching-cheng was still completely lost, utterly baffled by Song Wan-wan's weird riddles about fighting cats and dogs. What on earth was actually happening? He stared blankly at Wan-wan's highly suspicious grin, then curiously poked his head into the apartment, still awkwardly clutching the first aid kit. Glancing at Chi Ching-gru, he scratched his head. Hey, Wan-wan said your cat and dog are fighting. When the heck did you get a dog? But the second his eyes landed on me, standing awkwardly in the living room, it finally clicked. Song Wan-wan, who was still out in the hallway, completely lost it. She cracked up laughing and followed him inside. The moment her eyes met mine this time, she flashed me the brightest, most wicked smile imaginable. Well, hello there, brother-in-law. Instantly, the three of us whipped our heads around to stare at her. Liang Ching-cheng looked at her like she'd lost her mind, his eyes screaming, "You're seriously calling him brother-in-law already?" Song Wan-wan just shot back a smug look. What do you know? Ching-gru is obviously deadly serious about this guy. Having completely dominated their silent conversation, Wan-wan smirked as Liang Ching-cheng obediently caved in. Hello, brother-in-law, he echoed. Honestly, having her closest friend suddenly slap me with that title felt insanely awkward, but I forced out a polite reply anyway. Hey guys! Chi Ching-gru, on the other hand, turned to look at me with the softest, most tender expression. She was clearly incredibly satisfied with her new title. You two go ahead and grab a seat, she told them casually. Without missing a beat, she started walking straight toward me. Song Wan-wan didn't suspect a thing, happily dragging Liang Ching-cheng over to the sofa. Still utterly clueless, he asked, Hey, Sister Ching-gru, did you still need that rabies shot? Suddenly, he yanked hard on Song Wan-wan's sleeve and let out a strained, awkward cough. Huh? What is it? She asked. Wan-wan turned her head and gasped, immediately slapping a hand over her mouth when she saw Ching-gru and I practically glued together. Oh my god. Did you seriously invite us inside? Just to force us to watch you two be all lovey-dovey? Talk about being the world's brightest third wheels. The two of them turned their heads stiffly to look at each other, totally shell-shocked by Chi Ching-gru's insanely bold PDA. Pressing against me, she whispered, Now, do you still think I want to keep us a secret? I shook my head vigorously. Nope. You are truly incredibly open and magnanimous. A rare hint of shyness flashed across Chi Ching-gru's face. If this still isn't enough, she leaned in. We can go out to the living room and do it right in front of them. I abruptly slapped a hand over her mouth. Terrifying. This woman is honestly just as unhinged as she was in my past life. Enough. That's really enough. Ching-gru and I locked eyes for 2 seconds. Suddenly, I felt something soft brush against my palm. I instinctively yanked my hand back, completely admitting defeat. I think I should go get that vaccine first. But Chi Ching-gru just pulled me straight toward the bathroom. Take a shower first. You can't get wet after taking the vaccine. I froze for a second, about to say I didn't have any clothes, but Ching-gru already knew exactly what was on my mind. There are brand new toiletries in the bathroom. As for a change of clothes, I'll go downstairs and grab some for you. She stepped into the bathroom to get everything ready for me. You wash up first. When I bring your clothes up, I'll just hang them on the door. I nodded and quickly reminded her. Then bring a few extra sets up for me, okay? Chi Ching-gru smiled gently. Got it. With that, she turned and left, finally giving me some breathing room. But when she walked back into the living room, her two friends huddled on the sofa gave her the weirdest looks. Chi Ching-gru paused, quickly fixing her face into a perfectly normal expression as she looked back at them. What are you guys looking at? Liang Ching-cheng just shook his head with a smirk while Song Wan-wan raised an eyebrow. Tisk, Tesk. Ching-gru, I never knew you had this kind of side to you. Ha ha. It was incredibly rare for Chi Ching-gru to actually feel shy in front of her friends. Oh, it's fine. You'll act exactly like this too once you find a boyfriend. Song Wan-wan curled her lip. I am not like you. Okay? Chi Ching-gru confidently walked toward the door. Just teasing. But not even for that guy from the Jang family? Perfect. Then I guess I don't need to tell you the latest news about him. Song Wan-wan immediately scrambled right off the sofa, trotted over to Chi Ching-gru, and whined, Ching-gru, you have news about Jang Fan? Chi Ching-gru smirked playfully. Wan, didn't you just say you were totally different? Why do you even want news about him? No, I'm exactly the same. I'm just like you. Chingru, my sweet, amazing Chingru, please just tell me what happened to him. Chingru had already reached the door. She stopped and gave her a deeply meaningful look. He's in Gangcheng. Go find him. Song Wanwan instantly dropped her playful act and said with total seriousness, thank you, Chingru. And with that, she bolted out the door. She didn't waste a single second. Over on the sofa, Liang Cheng stayed silent for a moment before asking doubtfully, is that Jiang guy really in Gangcheng? Yeah, the exact moment he arrived in Gangcheng this afternoon, I got the tip. However, as she watched the elevator doors close on Song Wanwan, she added, but I heard he went to Gangcheng with his new girlfriend. Liang Cheng frowned hard. Then what about Wanwan? Chingru's tone was ice cold and calm. If she can actually win him back, that's her own skill. If she can't, she'll just have to face a harsh reality. After all, she was the one who drove him away in the very first place. She can't blame anyone else for this. After dropping that truth bomb, she completely dropped the subject, turning back to Liang Cheng. You just sit here for a bit. I'm heading downstairs to pack some clothes for Zichen. Liang Cheng let out a soft sigh. He gave a weary nod. All right, go ahead then. Chingru made her way downstairs. The absolute second she opened the door, the house cat rushed right over to her. Meowing loudly, it continuously rubbed against her legs, acting totally spoiled. Chingru bent down and rubbed its head, asking softly, why were you acting so fierce toward a Chen earlier? Obviously, the cat couldn't answer and just kept happily rubbing its head into her palm. Chingru sighed softly, giving its head a firm pat. Acting all cute with me won't work. Tomorrow, I'm having someone come over to trim those sharp little nails. After scolding the furball, she walked straight toward the bedroom. Naturally, the cat trotted right behind her. Since the layout upstairs and downstairs was exactly identical, she easily navigated her way to the master bedroom. She pushed the door open, flicked on the light, and headed straight into the walk-in closet. But when Chingru looked inside the closet, which only had a few cheap, scattered pieces of clothing hanging up, she frowned slightly. Back in the past, she had literally never seen a Chen wear the exact same outfit twice. Yet, the few times she bumped into him this past month, he seemed to be rotating the same few worn-out shirts. Chingru grabbed a set of pajamas for me, but as she pulled open a drawer to get the rest, her face instantly flushed bright red at the sight of my underwear. Blushing hard, she randomly grabbed a few pairs and quickly tossed them into a bag. But as she did, her eyes inadvertently locked onto a small black velvet box. Wait, I've seen this box before. Flashback to just a few days ago. Songyi and I were hanging out at the styling studio. I remember turning to Songyi, asking nervously, is it too simple? Is it too shabby? Do you think she'll actually like it? Songyi just rolled his eyes at me. Bro, even if you gave her the most expensive thing in the world, she still might not like it. Besides, just look at your current financial situation. Honestly, it's a miracle. I even scraped enough together for a gift. I strummed my guitar, feeling the heavy weight of it all. True. Right then, I noticed Chingru nearby, instantly looking away from us. Chingru hadn't heard exactly what I muttered back then, but she could easily guess, and knowing my desperate situation, it definitely wasn't anything nice. Chingru knew exactly who that box was meant for. Driven by a twisted knot of dark emotions, she snatched it right up. Her fingers violently shook as she popped the lid. Inside lay a gorgeous hairpin, resting right on top of a folded sticky note. Biting her lip, she carefully pulled out the paper. Happy birthday, Momo. Her stomach dropped completely to the floor. Just as she suspected. Even though she fully saw it coming, the crushing sting in her chest was totally unbearable. Wait, if memory served right, Himomo's birthday was 3 days ago. So why didn't Archen give this to her? Chingru squeezed her eyes tightly shut. Shichen, why can't you just choose me? She thought. Did Himomo break your heart so badly that you are just using me as a backup plan? Forcing her shaking hands to steady, she shoved the box back, packed up her stuff, and turned to leave. Back in the bedroom, the shower was still running. She hung his bag on the bathroom door and gave it a soft knock. The water cut off a second later, and my voice echoed from inside. Chingru, is that you out there? She answered, her voice heavy with a heartbreak she couldn't hide. I left your clothes on the door. Just grab them when you're done. Got it, I called back. I'm almost done washing up anyway. Take your time, she whispered softly. She desperately wanted to say more, but instead, she just dropped her gaze and walked away. A little later, I stepped out and sat down right next to her, letting Liang Chen give me my rabies shot. Chingru watched the whole thing, her eyebrows knotted in intense worry. As the needle pierced my skin, that tiny sting made her wince. Her eyes flickered with raw emotion. Liang Chen couldn't take the heat anymore. As a totally single dude, he instantly picked up on the super awkward, thick tension in the room. So after quickly rattling off the side effects and the date for my next dose, he practically sprinted out the door. I looked up, locking eyes with her. Chingru, what's wrong? I asked, totally confused. She was definitely giving off some seriously weird vibes. She was perfectly fine before I hit the shower. She didn't say a word at first. Ah, Chen, she finally murmured. I stared back at her. What is it? Before I knew it, she wrapped her arms tight around my neck, leaned right into my ear, and whispered, Do you want to marry me? I was completely blown away. Marry you? She stayed pressed flush against my ear. Let's get engaged. Right this second. Right now? Wait, what do you mean by right now? My brain was totally short-circuiting. I mean, we lock this down tonight, and we go get our marriage license first thing tomorrow morning. Pressing her cheek to mine, she asked again so softly, Ah, Chen, do you really want to marry me? It felt like time literally stopped. Marriage? She had brought this up so many times in my past life too. Back then, I gave her the absolute cold shoulder, and later, when I hit rock bottom, I pushed her away even harder. After that brutal rejection, she never brought it up again, choosing instead to just silently stand by my side. But one day, tucked away in her desk drawer, I found a pair of custom diamond wedding bands. I secretly slipped mine on, and man, it was an absolute perfect fit. My long silence made her breath completely hitch. The room was so dead quiet, you could literally hear both our hearts pounding. Her voice cracked with deep disappointment. Ah, Chen, do you not want to? Are you kidding? Of course not. I would be incredibly happy to. She finally dared to look up, her teary eyes locking onto mine. Chingru, I am so incredibly happy. I scooped her up into a huge hug and literally spun her around the room. Chingru, I am so crazy about you. I want to marry you so badly. Really? Her heart fiercely clenched. If I hadn't known Ah Chen since we were little kids, and if I didn't know how much he secretly hated me, and if I hadn't just found that stupid hairpin he failed to give Momo a few days ago, I honestly would have believed him. What an absolute liar. Whoever said his acting was trash is dead wrong. He is playing the part perfectly. But honestly, even knowing it was a total lie, she was more than happy to swallow the sweet poison right then and there. She puffed out her cheeks in a cute pout. Ah, Chen, you better remember what you just promised me. Because if I find out you're lying, I couldn't help but laugh and ask, then what? Then I will stick to you like superglue. I'll never leave your side, and I will annoy you every single day. My heart did a massive flip. Right now, she was acting exactly like the fiery, stubborn Chingru I used to know. Just when she thought that crazy threat would scare me off for good, I flashed her a massive beaming smile. All right, it's a deal. I happily agreed, but then asked, wait, you said we're getting engaged right this second. It's practically midnight. How on earth do we even get ready for that? As long as my Ah Chen is on board, we have all the time in the world. Without skipping a beat, she whipped out her phone and made a few quick calls. Barely an hour later, huge designer bags stuffed with luxury clothes and fancy accessories were piled sky high right in the middle of our living room. She applied a quick touch of powder to her lips and gave me a totally apologetic look. I'm so sorry, it's way too late for a full haul tonight. I'll have the boutique send over a lot more options tomorrow. These are all custom tailored exactly to your sizes and tastes. Pick out a set and try it on. We are going to need it for our marriage certificate photos tomorrow. I let out a totally dumbfounded, oh. She slipped into a stunning white dress in the bedroom while I blindly dug through the bags and pulled out a suit from the exact same luxury collection. We literally looked like the ultimate power couple in our matching outfits. Right on cue, the doorbell suddenly rang. She leaned in close, planting a sweet, lingering kiss right on my lips. I looked at her, totally amused. Go get the door, future wife. We'll have plenty of time for all of this after we're officially married. Chingru nodded in agreement, spinning on a heel to yank the door open. Waiting outside were the elite wedding planners and haute couture boutique staff. The second they stepped inside and spotted the two of us, you could practically see the blazing flames of gossip in their eyes. Before showing up, they had been aggressively complaining, wondering what kind of tyrant was torturing people in the middle of the night, demanding a wedding be planned at this ungodly hour. The three of them couldn't stop speculating, rushing to lock down a marriage, this desperately. Could it be just like the online trolls said? Did Archen really have some kind of dirty secret to blackmail the eldest daughter of the Chi family? The very next day, while we were snapping our registration photos at the Civil Affairs Bureau, the staff totally recognized us. Their eyes were absolutely brimming with juicy gossip. The two of us sat shoulder to shoulder. Chingru looked at me and suddenly stopped everything. Hold on. I stared at her, totally confused. What's wrong? I asked. The staff's hearts leaped right into their throats. Here it comes, they thought. The rich young miss is backing out. Watching this drama unfold live was way too thrilling. But instead of running away, Chingru just gently reached over and adjusted my tie. It's just a little crooked. Let me fix it for you, she whispered softly. I gave a faint smile, gazing at the gentle, breathtaking woman right in front of me. Is it better now? She asked. Chingru smiled sweetly and planted a soft peck on my cheek. Perfect. I turned my head, catching the completely shocked and excited glares of the staff, and offered an awkward little smile. The staff beamed right back at me. Ah, so incredibly sweet. They were absolutely eating this up. Those online rumors are total garbage. Chingru's small face flushed a delicate shade of pink as she sat back down, naturally linking her arm right through mine. She looked at the photographer and said, "All right, we're ready. Take the picture." The staff stared at the two of us through the camera lens, their eyes practically sparkling. Seeing these two dominating the trending searches today, they honestly thought it was all heavy editing and beauty filters. But now, our raw good looks were striking a direct hit to their lonely, old maiden hearts. Not long after, two official little red marriage booklets were handed right over to us. In that split second, Chingru felt completely dazed. Ah, Chen is really my husband now. Her delicate fingers trembled ever so slightly as she gently caressed the booklet. She turned to look at me, only to find that I was also staring blankly at the marriage certificate gripped tightly in my hand. Chingru pursed her lips, unable to stop herself from wondering, is my Chen feeling more thrilled right now, or is he just annoyed? As we walked out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, Chingru handed our beautifully prepared wedding favors to the staff. Oh, you're way too kind. This is just our job, they gushed, wishing Miss Chi and Mr. Shi a wildly happy marriage. May your beautiful love last an entire lifetime. Chingru's expression grew even softer. Thank you so much. The second we got back home, Chingru noticed I still had my head buried down, obsessively staring at the marriage certificate in my hand. What are you looking at so closely? Is my Chen unhappy? She asked softly. But I shot my head up, looking at her with pure joy. Chingru, I called out. She just looked at me, completely stunned. Yeah? She replied. I asked her with burning eagerness, can I please post this on Weibo? Chingru blinked, a bit confused. Weibo? I excitedly waved the marriage certificate right in front of her face. This! I want to post it on Weibo to make our official announcement. Can I do it? Honestly, the second Chingru said she wanted to get married, my mind instantly went straight to this. Isn't this the absolute best solution? As long as I drop the marriage certificate early and announce our union to the world, won't that messy drama with Sumua be instantly destroyed? Chingru really didn't expect me to be this eager to announce it to the world. Sure, she said softly, sitting right down next to me. But then I suddenly frowned. Wait, I don't have a phone. My phone is still with Song Yi, and he's always been the one micromanaging my Weibo account. Chingru's beautiful eyes curved into a warm, reassuring smile. Then, I'll be the one to post it. She quickly snapped a few aesthetic photos of the marriage certificate and logged into a Weibo account she had literally never used before. It barely took any time at all before the trending searches completely blew up. Her caption read, "No matter the time, no matter the season, we will never part until our hair turns white." Attached right beneath it were the photos of our 2 marriage certificates. While the whole internet was locked in a heated, chaotic debate, Chi Chingru delivered the most savage, direct answer possible. I stared at the explosive Weibo post she just made, my eyes shifting slightly as a thought crossed my mind. I looked over at her and asked, "Wait, your parents still don't know we got married, do they?" Chi Chingru just chuckled softly. "Hubby." My face instantly flushed a deep red, and my heart started racing like crazy. Chi Chingru let out a sweet laugh. "If you have enough time to worry about that, you might as well think about something much more important." I looked at her in total confusion. "Think about what?" I asked. Chi Chingru slowly leaned closer, closing the distance between us. "You should think about whether we're going to cozy up here in the living room and chat all night, or go back to our rooms and sleep totally separated." I scratched my head, feeling totally puzzled. What's the actual difference between those 2 options? Chi Chingru just blinked innocently. "You just have to make a choice." I actually thought about it for a second, then naturally reached out and grabbed her soft little hand. Then Chingru, "Come rest with me." Chi Chingru stared down at our tightly intertwined hands. "Don't regret it, Ah Chen," she warned softly. I looked back at her, completely unbothered. Why on earth would I regret it? But when night finally fell, Chi Chingru aggressively yanked the covers up, wrapping herself into a tight little blanket burrito without a single ounce of hesitation. I just sat there, staring at her completely blankly. "What the heck are you doing?" I asked. Chi Chingru looked back calmly. "Sleeping, obviously. How can I sleep without being tucked in properly?" I was totally lost. "Wait! I thought we were going to bed together." Chingru reached out from under the heavy blankets and gently patted the empty spot right next to her. "Yeah, come to bed," she said softly. I stood there, still completely clueless about what was happening. Hold on. Just like this? Chingru looked deep into my eyes. "Otherwise, did my handsome husband have other plans for tonight?" she teased, her voice taking on a sweet, playful tone. "We're already married, you know." "I know that." A mischievous little spark danced in her eyes. She leaned over, planting a soft, lingering kiss on my cheek. "Ah, Chen is my husband now. Whether you truly love me yet or not, it doesn't even matter. You belong completely to me now." I cleared my throat, feeling incredibly uncertain. "So, are you absolutely sure you just want to sleep peacefully like this on our wedding night?" Chingru blinked at me with those big, innocent eyes. "I just think you still need some time to properly process all this and get comfortable," she murmured. "I don't want you doing anything purely on impulse. We're officially married, so I'm in absolutely no rush. I can patiently wait for the day you truly fall in love with me." Man, little did I know what wild thoughts were actually racing through her head. Putting on a wicked smirk, I challenged her, "Hey, I don't need to get ready." "Well, then I need time to slowly adapt," she shot back softly. "Give me just a little time, okay, Ah Chen?" I sighed, giving in. All right, let's get some sleep." Click. The lights went out, plunging the entire bedroom into pitch black darkness. It was just the 2 of us now. Our shallow breathing rose and fell in perfect rhythm. I honestly thought I'd be tossing and turning all night, but surrounded by Chingru's sweet scent, I quickly drifted into a heavy sleep. Chingru, on the other hand? She lay there listening to the sound of my breathing, completely and utterly wide awake. She was absolutely terrified. Terrified that if she closed her eyes and woke up, she'd discover this entire marriage was just one beautiful, cruel dream. Right at that moment, she heard me mumbling in my sleep, "No. Nightmare. I don't want to." Chingru's entire body instantly froze. All her burning affection turned to ice in a split second. Meanwhile, I violently jolted awake from the nightmare, drenched in a freezing cold sweat. Panicking, my shaking hands instantly shot up to feel my own face. Scars? No. Uneven, ruined skin? No. It's fine. My frantic, ragged breathing slowly began to steady. God, for a horrifying second there, I really thought my rebirth was all just a fake dream. But it wasn't, right? I squeezed my eyes shut, taking a long, deep breath to calm my racing heart, before glancing over at the spot beside me. Chingru was completely gone. I quickly sat up, my eyes darting to the bedside clock. It was only 6:30 in the morning. Why the hell was she up so early? There was no way I was going back to sleep after that nightmare anyway. I tossed off the heavy covers and swung my legs out of bed. Pushing the bedroom door open, I glanced toward the living room and spotted a familiar figure out on the balcony. Chingru was standing there in the morning breeze, her back facing me. I quietly walked up and wrapped my arms around her waist from behind. Hey, why are you up so early? The soft body in my arms stiffened up for a second. A few tense seconds passed before she finally turned around. Ah, Chen, why didn't you sleep just a little bit longer? She wrapped her delicate arms tightly around my waist, clinging to me. I frowned, looking down at her unusually pale face. Wait, did you not sleep well last night? Chingru completely dodged the question. Instead, she looked up, locking her gorgeous eyes with mine. What about you, Chen? Did you sleep well? The second she asked that, a dark, gloomy shadow fell over my mood. I slowly shook my head. Not really, no. Chingru pursed her lips together, tension radiating from her. Why? She whispered. I let out an exhausted sigh, rubbing my aching temples. I had a really bad nightmare. Chingru stared intently at my face, asking in a soft, careful voice, what kind of nightmare? I frowned deeply, completely, at a loss for how to even begin explaining the truth. I dreamed about that awful day in my past life. The day I finally came home. Momo was already sitting there, waiting for me in the dark. The literal second I walked through the door, she started screaming at me. I tried to tell her she was the one who handed me that poisoned glass of wine, but she just screamed that it was impossible. Then, she completely lost it. She started grabbing whatever she could find and violently throwing things right at my face. I remember begging her to stop. Just thinking about that agonizing memory made my arms tighten defensively around Chingru. Sensing my pain, Chingru began gently rubbing my back, trying to soothe me. Shh, it's okay. It's nothing now. It was only a nightmare. Ah, Chen. But she was way too smart to be easily fooled. She could feel every single stiff, rigid muscle in my body. As she carefully pieced together the panicked words I'd muttered in my sleep and the raw terror in my tone, she realized just how incredibly deep my trauma ran. Back in our past life, she had been way too blinded by her own intense jealousy and rash emotions to really notice the hell I was going through. Chingru called my name, her voice actually trembling with fear. Ah, Chen, she choked out, sounding almost hoarse. Tell me the truth. Did Momo do something horrible to you? I was so caught up in the past that I barely registered her words. Huh? What did you say? She slowly raised her trembling hand, gently and tenderly tracing the side of my face. Did she hurt you? Her heartbreaking question yanked me violently back to the brutal reality of my past life. A wave of shame hit me, and I suddenly couldn't even bring myself to look her in the eye. No, I lied softly. That was an entire lifetime ago. Besides, she already got exactly what she deserved in that past life. And as for right now, Momo has zero chance of ever getting near me again. Chingru's delicate face twisted with painful reluctance. Terrified that I'd notice her simmering rage, she sucked in a deep, shaky breath, fighting like hell to bury her explosive emotions. To make sure I didn't see it, Chingru buried her face deeply into my chest. After a long, quiet moment, she suddenly perked up. Oh, right. The Shi family is hosting a massive banquet later today. Do you want to go check it out, Chen? That topic instantly ripped my attention away from my dark thoughts. Right. Shi Yubai's grand celebration banquet. Honestly, I don't really want to go. I'm completely sick of looking at the Shi family. At this point, those scumbags are honestly worse than strangers to me. Chingru looked up at me, a dangerous glint in her eye. If my Chen wants to go, I'll proudly escort you there myself. I blinked in total confusion. Go do what exactly? A stunning, arrogant smirk spread across her face. To grab front row seats and watch those clowns make absolute fools of themselves. Of course! I couldn't help but let out a bright, genuine laugh. All right, you're on. Actually, now that I think about it, those desperate idiots in the Shi family must be frantically turning the city upside down trying to find me by now. I just didn't have my phone on me. And there was absolutely no way the Shi family had the guts to crash Chi Chinguro's place. That's exactly why I've been soaking up this absolute peace and quiet. Still, we'd have to face the music sooner or later. The banquet wasn't until noon, so we had plenty of time. After a quick breakfast, Chinguo slipped away to her study. The internet was completely losing its mind over the trending searches. Her phone was practically melting from endless calls, but she just shut it off, completely unfazed. When she finally turned it back on, she only called her globe-trotting parents and fired off a few texts to close friends. As for me, I headed straight back to the bedroom to catch up on some well-deserved sleep. Waking up refreshed, I slipped into the razor-sharp custom suit Chingro had delivered and let the waiting stylist work their magic. Chingro lounged nearby, her fingers flying across her screen. I had zero clue what she was plotting. Once I was fully styled, I stood up and smirked. Well, Chingruo? Isn't your husband looking pretty incredibly handsome today? Hearing that, she finally looked up, locked her phone, and sauntered right over to me. She flashed a gorgeous smile and nodded. Super handsome. Then, she stepped away to change into a jaw-dropping, matching haute couture gown. When she stepped out, I couldn't take my eyes off her. I was so captivated, I couldn't resist leaning in to press a tender kiss to her cheek. My Chingruo is absolutely breathtaking, I whispered. Standing side by side, she suddenly looked like she was regretting her life choices. She realized she really didn't want that two-faced he-momo to lay eyes on her handsome Chen. What could she do? But wait, flaunting me in public would actually make everyone completely die of jealousy. Chen is my husband, she declared, making the stylist beside us practically squeal like totally obsessed fangirls. Oh, that is so sweet. You two are literally a match made in heaven. Hearing them, Chingru's eyes crinkled with sheer joy. She looked up at me. Chen, did you hear that? Everyone thinks we're the perfect match. I just chuckled, raising a hand to gently ruffle her hair. My voice dropped, filled with a raw, tender devotion I kept only for her. I'm only a perfect match for you. I reached out and instinctively laced my fingers tightly through hers. In that single moment, all my old habits of playing it safe and holding back completely vanished. I used to swallow my pride, hiding my true strength, and staying in the shadows. I was the underdog who always kept his head down to avoid the spotlight. But not anymore. Now, I wanted to be as loud and high profile as humanly possible. I wanted to stand beside my girl and scream this love to the entire world. Chingru's cheeks flushed a deep, beautiful red at my blunt confession. Then let's head out right now. I want every single person to see that my husband is the absolute best. I nodded, entirely willing, as she led me out of the living room. But the second we stepped out the door, we ran dead straight into Himomo, who was creeping around the hallway corner, spying on us like a total stalker. She was wearing this ridiculously exquisite gown, her makeup painted on to absolute perfection. But her eyes were totally glued to me, burning with insane paranoia and bitter resentment. This was the same girl who had spent months scheming, desperately trying to drive a wedge between Chingru and me. She had spread vile rumors just to maliciously smear Chingru's good name. She even set nasty little traps to tear us apart, all in some pathetic attempt to force her way into my life and steal everything that rightfully belonged to Chingru. Honestly, how did she even have the nerve to show her face? Seeing Chingru and me with our fingers intertwined, looking so madly in love, Himomo's face instantly lost all its color. You could actually see the very last shred of hope in her eyes shatter into a million pieces, replaced instantly by toxic jealousy and pure rage. She stumbled a step forward. Chen, are you really going to be with her? How am I not as good as her? I've done so much for you. Why won't you even look at me? But before I could even open my mouth, Chingru fired back. Chen is my husband. He only has me in his heart. All your pathetic schemes and crazy obsessions were a mistake from day one. I reached out and pulled Chingru fiercely into my arms. The warmth in my eyes vanished in a split second, replaced by a totally bone-chilling glare. Those twisted things you did were never sacrifices, I growled. They were pure, calculated malice. I stared Momo down, making absolutely sure she heard every single syllable, spreading toxic rumors about Chingru, trying to frame her to break us up, even paying people off to drag our relationship through the mud. I know about every single dirty trick you pulled. I only held back before because I refused to let my Chingru get tainted by your absolute filth. But do not mistake that for me letting you off the hook. Momo's face turned completely ashen, looking like she had just seen a ghost. She opened her mouth to argue, but the event staff suddenly rushed over. Turns out, The very people she bribed to spread those rumors, they had all just cracked and confessed the whole truth. The evidence was absolutely rock solid. Every single one of her toxic schemes and pathetic little tricks was finally dragged into the light. The sweet, innocent persona she had spent years faking crumbled to dust. Her reputation was nuked, and all her so-called elite connections dropped her like a bad habit. For all her vicious paranoia and selfish scheming, she ended up paying the ultimate price. Betrayed by everyone, with not a single soul left to pity her. I looked down at Chingru, holding her close. All right, the trash has been taken out. No one is ever going to bother us again. Chingru looked up at me, a soft smile playing on her lips. Ah, Chen, there won't be any more of these awful things from now on. Right? Her eyes were sparkling like absolute stars. I looked at her with pure devotion and replied, right, for the rest of our lives, it's just going to be peace, love, and our happily ever after. A few days later, the moment I had been fighting for finally arrived, our wedding day. The entire venue was absolutely flooded with blooming flowers, basking in the warm golden sunlight. It was breathtakingly tender, yet completely grand. Every single person who ever had our backs and genuinely wanted to see us win was sitting right there in the crowd. I saw the loyal friends who had silently supported us, the real ones who stood by our side through all the absolute hell we had to endure. There were the gentle, kind-hearted elders who had watched us scrape our way from rock bottom all the way to this exact moment. There were even total strangers we had helped out along the way, showing up with hearts completely full of gratitude. Every single face wore a massive, sincere smile, their eyes practically overflowing with pure blessings. Looking razor-sharp in a fitted tuxedo, I stood right at the end of that massive sea of flowers. My eyes were burning with intense anticipation, quietly waiting for my bride. And then, Chingru, looking like an absolute angel in her pure white wedding dress, slowly started walking toward me. In that split second, my entire world was completely overwhelmed with tenderness. Every single person in the background just faded away, leaving her as the only light in my life. She walked toward me, step by step, her eyes literally holding the stars and completely overflowing with this undeniable love. I stepped right up and took her hand, my voice gentle but totally firm. In the past, I survived the darkest storms completely alone, faced the absolute worst malice this world had to offer, and choked down every bitter pill they threw at me. I honestly thought the rest of my damn life would be nothing but a dull, lonely nightmare until you showed up. You taught a broken guy how to be gentle. You gave me someone to actually care for, and finally showed me what it feels like to be chosen, what it actually means to be complete. So today, I am incredibly proud to take you as my wife. From this moment on, through every single year, every sunrise and every sunset, I swear I will protect you. I will treat you with all the tenderness you deserve, completely spoil you for a lifetime, never leave your side, and never, ever let you down. Chingru's eyes welled up with happy tears. The rest of our lives is a long time, she whispered, but I only want to stay right here by HN's side, depending on each other, year after beautiful year. Thunderous applause instantly erupted from the massive crowd. Cheers and blessings rose up one after another, echoing with intense, enthusiastic warmth. My hands were shaking just a bit as I slipped the ring onto Chingru's finger, finally pulling my stunning bride into a tight, desperate embrace. The warm sun gently brushed across our faces, the vibrant flowers bloomed around us, and that entire venue was just radiating with pure happiness. It felt like all the beauty in the world had finally come rushing right toward us. The brutal storms were officially over, the enemies were gone, and everything was finally right. From this day forward, Chingru and I were going to stay together for a whole lifetime, completely safe and sound, year after year, living the perfect, complete life we had fought so desperately to build.